We all know, we've talked a good bit about these cartels over the last several months, and it was so interesting to me as I was across the state to hear local law enforcement talk about the cartels and how active they are in our state. It's why every state's a border state, every town's a border town now, Mr. President. And what we see happening is that the cartels have linked up with some of the scientists in the labs in China where they create these precursor chemicals. Then they're sending it into Mexico. The cartels have labs, and this is where you're getting the fentanyl-laced gummies. You're getting the pills that are pressed to look like oxycodone. All the manufacturing is there. I had one sheriff tell me he just assumed everything was laced with fentanyl because he said, you'll get marijuana, you'll get gummies, you'll get pills, you'll get all these different things, but what they really are is laced with fentanyl. All of this is ending up in our backyard, but it's also ending up on social media. Now, I found it so interesting as I was doing some work with our counties and focusing on this issue. We found out that as high as 36% of fentanyl cases, think about this number when you think about across our country, 36% of the fentanyl cases are linked to social media. This is where kids have met a drug dealer. Maybe it was Snapchat or Facebook or Messenger or Instagram and TikTok. 36%. These stats have made a few things very clear. The fentanyl crisis is real. It is killing Americans. It is killing Tennesseans. And it is our duty as sworn representatives to do something about this. Here in the Senate, we've already begun this work, and I want to encourage my colleagues who have not signed on to a few bills to get on board, and let's give this crisis the attention that it deserves. Now, Tim Scott had a bill. I joined him last June when he introduced this, the Fentanyl Act, and recently the Senate passed that as a part of our Defense Authorization Act. This bill takes a very important step because it would declare the international fentanyl trafficking cartels and the trafficking of fentanyl a national emergency, and it also would direct the Treasury Department to target, sanction, and block the financial assets of these transnational criminal organizations like those in China and Mexico that are pushing this product forward. I also joined Senator Rubio in introducing the Felony Murder for Deadly Fentanyl Distribution Act, which would add the distribution of fentanyl resulting in death to the list of crimes that are eligible to be charged as felony murder. But given the significant role that illegal immigration has played in the fentanyl epidemic, it's clear that we also need to go right to the source. The Fentanyl Public Health Emergency and Overdose Prevention Act, a good bill that is just plain common sense. It gives the Department of Homeland Security authorities similar to that under Title 42 to expedite the removal of illegal immigrants in response to the public health emergency that fentanyl poses to our country. If you're going to carry this, distribute it, push it, then you are not going to come in this country. Now, all of these are pieces of legislation that make a difference. What we see happening in counties in Tennessee where local law enforcement, local elected officials, local school superintendents and directors of schools are coming together and saying, we've got to get to work on this issue. They are all steps. What we have to do is have this administration, the Biden administration, stop burying their head in the sand on this issue. They can no longer ignore the influx of drugs coming into this country over that open southern border. We have to make certain that the border is secured and the resources are there to address the fentanyl crisis. I yield the floor and note the absence of a quorum.
Clerk will call a roll.
Ms. Baldwin.
Mr. President.
Senator from Louisiana.
Are we in a quorum call?
We are.
I ask that the quorum call be vitiated.
Without objection.
Mr. President, today I've introduced the Congressional Review Act, a resolution of disapproval to overturn the Biden administration's newest student loan scheme, income-driven repayment. Just like President Biden's student loan debt cancellation scheme that was overturned by the Supreme Court, this policy does not forgive debt. It transfers the burden of almost $560 billion in federal student loans from those who willingly took out the loans to college to make more money when they graduated to Americans who never attended college or who've already fulfilled their commitment to pay off their loans. Under this rule, a majority of bachelor's degree student loan borrowers will not be expected to even pay back the principal. We've moved beyond forgiving the debt, the interest, and we now are not even asking them to pay back the principal. Additionally, 91% of new student loan debt would be eligible for reduced payments, subsidized by taxpayers. These policies are as unfair as they are irresponsible. Where's the forgiveness for the guy who didn't go to college but is working to pay off the loan on the truck that he takes to work? What about the woman who paid off her student loans but now struggles to pay her utilities or her mortgage? Is the administration providing them relief? Of course not. Instead, the administration would have them not only pay their bills, but the bills of those who decided to go to college in order to get a degree to make more money. The resolution prevents average Americans, 87% of whom have no student loans, from being stuck with a policy that the administration is pushing not to be fair to all, but rather to favor a few. The Supreme Court has already established the president does not have the authority to cancel hundreds